Hey guys, welcome back. I don't get to create content nearly as much as I'd like these days, and I appreciate you checking it out when I do. Today I'm taking a first look at the new Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 carry comp. It was less than a year ago that Smith introduced the new Bodyguard 2.0, a huge improvement over the original pistol. If you want, you can go back and watch my full review of that gun, linked here. So now the Bodyguard 2.0 has received the full Performance Center treatment at Smith & Wesson, and the carry comp is the result. I have a valued relationship with Smith & Wesson, and this pistol was sent to me prior to its release. I got the gun for free, and obviously it has value, so that could be considered a form of compensation, just for transparency. But all my comments and observations are my own, and I've never been asked by Smith & Wesson to say anything, nor required to have any positive opinion.
So my carry gun is the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, which is a sweet little 380 auto pocket-sized pistol, as you can see. But what I'm testing now at the range is the brand new Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 carry comp. So we'll talk about what makes the carry comp a little bit different from the regular Bodyguard 2.0 as we go through this, but spoiler alert, the comp means it's a ported barrel, so built-in compensator. That's the primary difference. There are some other little differences we'll talk about as we go. Speaking of as we go, why don't I? So, comes with two magazines, a 10 rounder and a 12 rounder. And, well, I was just going to say, like a lot of new Smith & Wessons, it's hard to use the slide stop, slide release to send that first round in the chamber, but it worked. And that was the first time I've chambered a round, so good sign. All right, here we go. Putting a few down range, get warmed up. Recoil? What recoil? All right. Looks like it's going to be easy to break that in. Same trigger as the Bodyguard 2.0. Even though this one does come from a Performance Center, I'm not sensing any tuning, even in dry fire before coming to the range with it. Not able to really tell any difference in tuning or trigger pull weight or anything like that. Feels the same, and the same equals very, very good in this case. One difference that I will mention right now is that from the Performance Center, they have changed the slide configuration in terms of aesthetics to a degree, but also the slide serrations. They're much smaller in terms of the width of each cut, and they have those little ears in the back, which is very nice. All right, here's a challenge. I got a green backstop, I got a green target, and my front sight is sort of that yellow green. So green on green on green. There is a bit of a false reset on this trigger, and at least twice it's fooled me into thinking I was reset and I wasn't. but there is definitely a false reset on this trigger. It's not bad, but I'd rather it not be there.
Carry comp designates the ported version of the gun, designed to reduce felt recoil and muzzle rise. But when the folks at the Performance Center get their hands on something, it usually means additional changes as well. In the case of the Bodyguard 2.0, that translates to things like upgraded sights and a new slide that has finer cut cocking serrations and some aggressive shapes on the top. Side by side, you can see the basic difference between the two, with the Bodyguard 2.0 on the left and the new carry comp on the right.
So the 10-round magazine is a sort of a staggered stack magazine, and it is perfect for concealed carry. So you can see that it's a flush magazine. Very, very thin base plate, polymer base plate, of course. Very thin, matches up to the heel on the grip perfectly, but this is ideal for concealed carry, especially in the pocket, because it's going to take up the least amount of space. The 12-rounder is obviously a little taller, and it's got a nice little sleeve so that it matches up nicely also to the grip. Both are very comfortable. I'm able to get a full pinky just about on this gun. And my hands are not huge. I wear medium-sized gloves, for those of you taking notes. But certainly for smaller hand shooters, especially female shooters, this is probably going to be a very comfortable grip for you. And for you bigger guys, you're probably going to at least get, half a pinky on there and something to grab onto, even with the small magazine. So pretty impressive. Of course, the grip itself is very, very nice, very comfortable. Got that M&P ergonomics, got that nice curvature to it, and that same feel. All right, let me slow down a little bit. Not that I was shooting fast, but I'm going to get an idea where my aim point is here. Definitely likes a 6 o'clock hold, because it's putting them a little higher on the target than where I'm aiming. But it looks very consistent, so I'll have to put some on paper just to take a closer look at that. And of course, it is a 380 anyway, which is going to be a lighter round, but then on top of that, it's ported. I guess a big question is, do you really need a ported barrel on a 380? And I guess my answer to that, since I'm the only one here, I get to ask the questions and give the answers. Ha ha. If it reduces recoil even a little tiny bit, then that's okay, right? That's a good thing, especially for shooters who are very recoil averse. And let's be honest, if you're carrying a 380, it's either because you're recoil averse or because you need that smallest possible gun you can find. One of the two, maybe a combination of both. So let's just shoot one-handed a little bit, get a feel for it that way. Nice, nice, super, super controllable.
The addition of the port in the barrel was done by increasing the length of the barrel to accommodate that port rather than cutting the port into the existing length. This was a wise move because it preserves the ballistics of the original length of rifling. The port is a single hole across the top of the barrel just past the rifling, and it aligns with a similar and slightly larger hole in the slide. As the expanding hot gases behind the bullet leave the muzzle, a portion of that is directed straight up. This pushes the muzzle of the gun downward, which reduces the lift and also lessens the amount of rearward recoil. The result is intended to be a softer shooting handgun with faster target reacquisition. At the range, I tested the pistol with a couple hundred rounds of ball ammo, as well as several magazines loaded with self-defense rounds.
All right, let me see what I can do on paper here. I'm just going to do maybe a couple magazines worth at that orange dot. That is 10 yards downrange, which is, for a 380, little gun like this, that's about the distance I would want to test it. Those steel targets that I was shooting at initially are about 15 yards downrange, 13 to 15, so a little closer in for the paper. And I do really like this front sight. It's an upgrade on the Performance Center carry comp. Okay, I'm kind of all over the place. I can see that from here. So let me do another mag, see if it's me, maybe if I can settle down. The gun feels really small, as you might expect, but it's noticeably small in the hand, but not uncomfortably so. Some guns, you know, even for me, can be so tiny that it feels awkward shooting them, but everything is in just the right reach on this gun. It just feels small. So I'll be interested to hear what, like Stav from She Equips Herself, be interested to hear what she has to say, because she definitely has smaller hands. All right, I think I did a little better on that one, just taking my time a little bit more. Okay, so that was Lawman ball ammo. It was 95 grain ball full metal jacket ammo. Now I'm going to try 5 rounds, just 5 because these are expensive, of Hornady critical defense 380, of course. It is, what is it? It is 90 grain with an FTX bullet. This, if I may pause to comment, so today I am carrying a 380 as my personal defense handgun, and with the 380, ammunition is really, really key. It's really important to choose. You need penetration, but you also certainly want some expansion. But traditional hollow points can expand too quickly with a 380 and not give you any penetration. Ball ammo can give you good penetration, and a lot of people will recommend that. I'm not saying they're wrong, but then there's no expansion. This FTX bullet from Hornady has got that, you know, that little red plug in the cavity of the hollow point that allows the penetration. It's not going to prematurely expand on, you know, clothing or something like that, and still, you know, so it gives you the penetration, but then also the expansion. So if I was going to recommend a round for 380 for self-defense, it would be the Hornady critical defense. Nobody paid me for saying that. Nobody asked me to say that. Nobody gave me that ammo for free. So that's just my opinion. And you're always welcome to it. All right, 5 rounds of this at the orange dot. Let me see if I can do a little bit better with this stuff. I'm going to keep that same hold point though, 6 o'clock. All right, see how I did.
Due to a bonehead move on my part, I shot the gun without much, if any, oil. I clean them pretty thoroughly before I do my photography, and in my haste to pack for the range, I forgot to relube it. But even dry, there was not a single malfunction of any kind. As I observed at the range, there is a false reset to the trigger, and it even fooled me a couple of times. If this was a target gun or a match gun, I would be harsher about it. But a self-defense gun should always be fired with the full stroke of the trigger, so it's not as big an issue for me, but you might feel differently. My copy of the non-ported Bodyguard 2.0 does not have a false reset, and it feels just a bit cleaner than the trigger on the carry comp. That said, everything else about the trigger is excellent, just as it is on the Bodyguard 2.0. The improvement over the original model from a decade ago is night and day. Sometimes Performance Center treatment includes some tuning of the fire control group to lighten the trigger or make it crisper. I didn't really notice any difference in shooting them side by side.
Okay, one thing I do want to test, better word might be observe, while I'm here and while I have the two Bodyguard 2.0s, in my left hand on your right is the Bodyguard 2.0, and on my right hand on your left is the Bodyguard 2.0 carry comp. I'll show you this in a better close-up, but the carry comp is a bit longer pistol by about, I'm going to say roughly ½ inch. I haven't measured. I'm going to shoot 5 rounds of Federal HST, also good self-defense loads, through each one of these guns. And I just want to see from my subjective perception if I can tell any significant difference between the two. So starting with the Bodyguard 2.0, 5 rounds. Okay, a fair amount of snap there. So let's see what happens with Bodyguard 2.0 carry comp. Same ammo. I can feel the difference. It's there's a little less snap, but what I would maybe better describe it as, it's a little less punch into your hand with the comp than there is without it. Not that either is bad, but I can feel the difference. So if you're looking for a small pocket pistol, you know, deep concealment type handgun, and 380 is in, you know, in running for you, the Bodyguard 2.0 carry comp is a softer shooting gun.
Because this is a pre-release copy of the gun, I don't have any published specs on it, so I'll give you my own measurements. The overall length is 6.02 inches, and that's compared to 5.566 inches for the non-ported model. That is 0.454 inches longer, so my guesstimate of ½ inch was pretty good. The barrel is 2.95 inches long. Of this, approximately 0.3 inches is non-rifled. The height with the 10-round magazine is 3.996 inches, and I'm sure that's going to be published as 4 inches in the specs. The width is 0.864 inches at the slide stop lever, and it weighs 11.8 ounces with the empty 10-round magazine. That's just 0.3 of an ounce more than the non-ported. I measured the trigger pull at 3.5 pounds on my Lyman digital gauge. That was very near the toe of the trigger shoe because getting a consistent hold on the center of the flat trigger was difficult. Measured at the center, it would likely be a full pound heavier. I mentioned the slide serrations being noticeably different in the slide of the carry comp. They're narrower cuts over a smaller area, but they feel very effective. But new on the carry comp model, the rear of the slide has those protruding tabs or cocking ears or whatever you want to call them that are very helpful for running the slide, especially for those with less hand strength. The ergonomics of the Bodyguard 2.0 were nicely refreshed to match those of the M&P line, and of course the Carry Comp has the identical frame. The upgraded sights are a big improvement in my opinion. The bright yellow ring with the tritium insert for use in darkness combined with the blackout anti-glare rear sight make a great sight picture day or night. My only real complaint goes back to that trigger. While it's light and crisp, it's not quite as clean as the Bodyguard 2.0 non-ported that I have, and I don't like false resets in general, which is very noticeable with this gun. I think this points to maybe consistency issues with the trigger linkage, and it would be nice to see that get ironed out. Apart from that small complaint, the Bodyguard 2.0 Carry Comp delivers as promised. I can feel the difference in recoil, and for those choosing 380 auto, recoil is often a big decision factor. I carried the Bodyguard 2.0 in my DeSantis Nemesis pocket holster on the way to the range. On the way home, I carried the Bodyguard 2.0 Carry Comp. That quickly it won my confidence, and it's still easy to pocket carry. I don't have MSRP numbers at this time, but by the time you see this video, that information should be available online.
So it just occurred to me that here I am at the range with two, count them, two pistols in my hands. You know what that means. And also in light of today, this very day, July 4th, 2025, it is the 249th birthday of these here United States. Might as well make a little bit of noise to celebrate. So, in the immortal words of Leonard Skinner, what song is it you want to hear? Song of My People? All right, you got it. Kind of sounded like freedom ringing, didn't it?
Again, my thanks to the good folks at Smith & Wesson for sending out this new model to me free of charge for review. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really does help me. And be sure to use the discount codes and affiliate links in the description of this video. You'll save money on quality products, and in some cases, you'll help the channel out too. This is just an opinion. Thanks for watching.